What if? What if there was a YouTube channel out there that would run numbers for you? Your numbers, not someone else's. What if you could simply give them what you currently have saved and how much you want to save each month, and you could then see how much you might have in 35 or even 45 years? What if they simply took the returns of the S&P 500 for the last 100 years and projected ahead what you might have with similar returns in the future? What if on this channel you could see what others are doing and maybe be encouraged to do the same? Folks, that's what we do on this channel. And the question I want to make the video about today is, how did 75% of retired millionaires make it to that lofty goal? Respondents to a Dave Ramsey study reported it was by regular, consistent investing over a long period of time. It's clear that this is the way to hit seven-figure status. In this video, we're going to look at how those numbers might work out. Welcome to our channel, $1,000,000 Made Easy. We simply take the numbers for the S&P 500 for the last 100 years, which includes the depression years, and we simply run them to see where you might be if the returns were anything like they were in the last 100 years. That includes the depression years. So let's say, for example, you're starting out, you don't have anything saved. I'm going to run when you do have something saved here in a minute. But say you can save $250 a month, which is, if you're making $60,000 a year, which is the average income somewhere in that neighborhood in America today, 5% of that would be $250. Oftentimes you hear you have to save 10 or 15% to make it work. I just want to show you what $250 a month can do. And what we're going to do is increase that by 3% a year. So in other words, 250, 258, or 3,000 a year, and then going down through here. And we'll look at the returns as if they were like 1924 going on, or like 1927, any of these numbers, and we're going to run it for every single year for the last 100 years to see where you might be in the future. Before we even begin to look at the numbers, I want you to look at this graph right here. This shows you what we saw earlier, these respondents saying if you're in it for the long run, you can reach seven-figure status. And I want you to notice how the graph takes a while. It takes a while. This is 22 years into it, folks. Looks pretty depressing, but look how it takes off. Because what's happening? They're going through the depression years, so these returns are staying kind of low. But inevitably, no matter what year I pick, this graph shoots up like a rocket if you can be in it for the long term. This happens to be the 40-year graph. We could look at the 35-year graph. You can see it taking off. Now I can pick any years you want. Just watch the graph. I'm just picking different years with all these different returns. Sometimes you have a drop, but look how it comes back. This is a 35-year graph. Look at the 40-year graph. Look at that. There's that drop hitting whatever, that probably was 1973 or so. But look how it shoots up. If you can be in it for the long run, and look at the 45-year graph. Look at that. That just shows you be in it for the long run. Start out young, be in it for the long term, steady, consistent progress, putting in. Folks, this is $250 a month. And in the worst case scenario, by the way, the black row right here is the money you put in over that 35, 40, and 45-year period. But in the red row here is the worst case scenario on each of these different time periods. In the worst case scenario for a 35-year period, over the last 100 years, you'd have $930,000. The median in this column is 1.390. Let me just click on this real quick here. This is the actual breakdown. 89% of the time, you'd have over $1 million. So you would reach that millionaire status. 17% of the time, you'd actually have over $2 million, which is color-coded in blue. Again, this is after 35 years. You start at age 30, 32, and work till age 65, 67. Look at the kind of numbers you can have with just $250 a month, increasing that by 3% a year. Remember what they said? Long, steady, consistent investing. And you can have these kind of numbers with just 5% of your income. Again, your numbers are going to be totally different. The thing is, get it in there for the long run and see this kind of graph work for you. Let's take somebody that doesn't have 40 or 45 years. Maybe they have 35 years and they already have some saved up. I just want to show you the difference that can make. Look what happens if we say you have 25,000 saved up. You're already maybe in your early 30s, and you say, I don't have 35 I don't have 40 or 45 years. Let's look what 25,000 can make for, oops, that's 250,000. I know you'd wish you'd had that at age 30 or 32. Back that up here. This shows you what we knew this channel run, all kinds of different numbers. Again, this is this looking at $250 a month. Maybe you're 30, 31, 32, and have 35 years until you reach age 67, which is full retirement age. Let's update these numbers and see how much difference that makes. Right now, worst case scenario is 930,000. The median is 1.4 million. Watch what that even that $25,000 can do for you. Even though you have a shorter time period, you don't have 40 or 45 years to get out to these kind of numbers. Watch the difference this 25,000 can make. And again, we can run any kinds of numbers you want. 930,000 in the worst case scenario. How much difference does a $25,000 make? Right here, 1.61. Did you catch that? $25,000 over 35 years in the worst case scenario made $700,000 difference. So don't get discouraged if, oh, I don't have 40 or 45 years. I'm not 20 or 25 to have these kind of numbers. Even if you have this kind of money and have 35 years, and we could change any of these numbers. I always like to I hesitate to run these numbers because they look so awesome. They would make you a millionaire, but I always like to be realistic. You have to take into account inflation. So in all my videos, I always have this rectangle up here that shows you the buying power of these numbers down here. So if we're looking at this 1.615 million, folks, again, that's the worst case scenario in the last 100 years. It would have the buying power of $574,000 in 35 years, given a 3% inflation rate. Hopefully that makes sense. But I want you to think, okay, this may not be $1 million in buying power, but look at what's happening in today's world. The average American retiree had about $170,000 in retirement savings. You would have over 3 times that amount in buying power. Yes, you'd have this kind of money. You'd be a millionaire. But again, this is the worst case scenario. You'd have this kind of buying power in 35 years. Ask these people that have this kind of money today if they'd rather have this kind of money when they retired, which we're looking at in 35 years from now. Again, I love to run numbers for people. The key point is get it in there as early as you can and be consistent. Do regular, consistent, long-term investment. Remember our question, how does 75% of retired millionaires make it to that lofty goal? And they said it was clear if you do regular, consistent investing over a long period of time, you can reach this kind of status. Again, we were just looking at somebody saving $250 a month and increasing that by 3%. But that's what we do on this channel. We run numbers for people. We'd love to run numbers for you. And again, when we run numbers for you, it can encourage other people. And what am I talking about by running numbers? If you will just give me your beginning balance, in this case, if you start out with zero, your monthly contribution, we looked at the $250 contribution. Yearly increase, we increased it by 3%. And how long to run it? We showed you 35, 40, and 45 years, the kind of money you can have after those long periods of time if you're in it for the long term. Folks, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a numbers guy. I create all kinds of different spreadsheets because I want to run numbers for you just to show you what the potential is just based on the last 100 years of returns. Please consider subscribing to this channel. Please share it with others, comment, like the videos. Let people know there's a channel out there that will run numbers for them. Check it out, folks. I've got over 600, almost 600 videos out there running people's numbers and making some observations from what I see from those numbers. And hopefully they can help you look ahead and see what potential there is for you. Thanks so much for watching.